Hi, this is Dr. Austin Hitt, and welcome back to Into the Cortex. In this second episode, we will be exploring the basic types of thinking that occur within the human brain. By developing an understanding of these two cognitive modalities, you will glean insights about the nature of science, thinking, and learning. In order to explain these two ways of thinking, I'll utilize an analogy developed by psychology professor and the recipient of the Nobel Prize in Economics, Dr. Daniel Kahneman. His anthropocentric tale is the central theme of his best-selling book, Thinking Fast and Slow. At the heart of the story are two characters, System 1 and System 2, which represent the divergent approaches the brain uses to process information. System 1 is responsible for intuitive, instantaneous, and emotionally laden thinking. It allows a person to make rapid, seemingly automatic decisions and judgments. System 1 devises solutions to situations and problems through the cognitive process of association. Association involves the matching of information from long-term memory to all or part of the current problem or situation. Basically, System 1 resolves the current problem through the application of prior knowledge and experiences. The other character in the story is System 2. It is relatively slow, plodding, and deeply reflective. System 2 requires concerted effort and focus in order to process information. System 2 is good at tackling problems and situations that require abstract thinking and logical reasoning. It is responsible for processing the academic information taught in school. System 1 and System 2 are two partners with very different personalities. I analogize the relationship between the two thinking systems to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's fictional sleuthing duo of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. When examining the evidence of a crime, Dr. Watson makes snap judgments based on his life experiences. He often focuses on superficial details, and he is easily taken in by a suspect's demeanor and emotions. Inevitably, Watson's expedient thinking leads him to erroneous conclusions. Dr. Watson's approach to criminology is analogous to System 1 thinking. Conversely, Sherlock Holmes is calculating and reflective. Before he makes any conclusions, he carefully examines the facts, and he devises ways to empirically test his ideas. Additionally, Holmes does not allow himself to be fooled by his gut feelings. His conclusions are based solely on cold, hard logic. Sherlock Holmes' demeanor and thought process is analogous to System 2 thinking. I also see one more parallel between Holmes and Watson in System 1 and System 2. Though the partners have divergent personality traits, they are inseparable. Despite the differences between Holmes and Watson, somehow they strike a balance between logic and intuition, which allows them to work through a case. Likewise, human thought is formulated through a collaboration between rapid, intuitive System 1 thinking and slower, more reflective and logical System 2 thinking. Now I'm going to use an example from Dr. Kahneman's book to demonstrate how System 1 and System 2 impact your own thinking. In just a moment, a pair of words will appear on the screen. After words appear, you will experience a stream of thoughts. The challenge for you is to remember what thoughts popped into your brain when you first saw the words. Now, are you ready? Go! So what images and ideas appeared in your mind? Don't worry if you feel that you had some rather unusual thoughts. For example, did you imagine an animate banana undergoing what physicians describe as emesis? Perhaps your brain generated an image of a yellow, mushy, sticky substance, reminiscent of a squashed banana. You may have also experienced a sensation of disgust as you became aware of these thoughts. Don't worry if you had any of these strange thoughts. There's nothing wrong with your brain. When I conduct this activity with my students, they likewise report a wide range of strange and novel images and ideas. So where did all of those odd thoughts come from? The answer is your System 1 produced these thoughts. Your System 1 took in the present situation, rapidly searched long-term memory to find information that matched it, in total or in part, and voila! Instant and intuitive solutions were produced. However, a few seconds after the strange thoughts emerged in your brain, you probably started questioning them. You may have thought, hey, that doesn't make any sense. What's up with that? Hopefully you did not go so far as to question your sanity. After all, it's just a harmless mental exercise. That sense of doubt indicates that your brain was engaging System 2. System 2 is responsible for rational thought and reasoning. In this case, you became aware that something was not quite right and that a more thorough thought and reflection process was needed. The banana phrase, "don't worry, I won't repeat it," is a good example of how we humans use both System 1 and System 2 to resolve problems. At first, System 1 devises a quick solution. After a few seconds, you may develop a sense that something's not quite right. That is when System 1 hands the problem over to System 2. System 2 then makes a detailed and refined analysis of the situation. Most of the time, System 1 is in charge, and that's a good thing. System 1 thinking is what allows us to efficiently and fluidly move throughout the day with minimal effort. System 1 takes care of basic problems and situations, such as getting out of bed, getting dressed for the day, preparing breakfast, and driving to work or school. You likely do not have to think too hard about any of these routines because System 1 handles them for you. However, System 1 thinking can also produce erroneous results, especially in situations that require abstract logical reasoning. Consider the following problem. In a lake, there's a patch of lily pads. Every day, the patch doubles in size. If it takes 48 days for the patch to cover the entire lake, how long will it take for the patch to cover half of the lake? 24 or 47 days? For most people, there is an answer that just pops out. That answer is 24. This is because System 1 found some familiar words and processes. First, there is the easily recognizable concept of 1/2. Through lots of practice in school, you are very familiar with the process of taking half of an even number. Next, with practically no effort, you computed half of 48, which is the number 24. Then presto, you produced an easy and seemingly obvious answer. It takes 24 days for the pond to be completely covered. However, this answer is incorrect, and let me explain why. As stated in the problem, it takes 48 days for the pond to become completely covered. It's also stated that the number of lily pads doubles each day. Subsequently, the number of lily pads must double on the last day, which is day 47. On that day, half the pond must be covered because on the following day, the 48th, the entire pond will be covered with lily pads. To derive this correct solution to the problem requires logical and abstract reasoning. It requires your brain to engage System 2. Unfortunately, because System 1 can find such an easy, familiar, and satisfying answer, people often do not reread the question and think more critically about the answer. Teachers have many practical experiences with System 1 thinking from their students. For example, it's not uncommon for students to make simple errors when reading and deriving solution to word problems. This is because the students used System 1 to solve the problem. As a result, they focus on familiar words and statements within the problem instead of closely examining the deep structure of the problem. Consequently, they generate what seems to be an obvious solution. Unfortunately, such easy answers are often wrong. Teachers address this internal System 1 processing issue when they direct their students to slowly and carefully read through word problems and to identify the key concepts and procedures before they generate an answer. Now I want to demonstrate how intuitive System 1 thinking can interfere with the learning of science content. My first example involves the 4 seasons. In the winter, the average daily temperature is lower than the average daily temperature for the summer months. No surprise there. Now consider the following question. Why are the average temperature readings warmer in the summer months relative to the winter months? Take a few moments to reflect on this question. A common response among grade school students and many adults is that the higher temperatures, which are indicative of a greater intensity of heat, occur because the Earth is closer to the sun in the summer and farther away from the sun during the winter months. This explanation is intuitive and is compatible with our common sense experiences of the world. Early in life, we humans learned that the closer we are to a heat source, like a fire or oven, the greater the intensity of heat. This is a concrete observation which provides a very practical and intuitive rule of thumb or heuristic. The closer you are to a heat source, the greater the intensity of heat. However, the scientific explanation for the temperature differences between the seasons is very different. It is connected to how the Earth is tilted on its axis. Here in the northern hemisphere during the summer months, the Earth is tilted such that we receive a greater amount of sunlight than we receive during the winter months. The end result is higher temperature readings, greater heat during the summer months. Now let me give you one more example. This time I'm going to provide you with a question about human illness. Are you ready? Go. True or false, you can catch a cold if you're not wearing enough warm clothes when you go outside on a freezing wet winter day. After the first question, you may have been primed to answer this one correctly. The answer is no, you do not catch a cold by being exposed to the elements. Colds are caused by submicroscopic quasi-organisms called viruses, not by inclement weather. Now I know what you're thinking. It sure seems like people catch more cold during those cold, dreary winter months. Well, it is true that people do catch more colds during the winter months, but it is only indirectly related to the weather. The prime causal factor is the relatively close proximity of people. On cold winter days, people generally stay indoors. Now imagine that a coworker, fellow student, or family member has a cold. Every time that person coughs or sneezes, they're releasing thousands of individual viruses into the air. Since most buildings are hermetically sealed off from the external environment, the viruses continually diffuse throughout the building. Additionally, because it's cold outside, a greater number of people tend to be cloistered indoors. Both of these factors make it easier for a cold virus to infect a greater number of people. Of course, people can catch a cold during the spring and summer, but during these months, the weather is often a lot nicer and people are out and about. They also open windows and doors to air out the building. Subsequently, during warmer months, cold viruses are transmitted less efficiently and fewer people are infected. So let's review. First, there are two general thinking systems that people use to understand the world around them. System 1 is the default system. It is what allows us to make rapid, efficient, intuitive decisions. Conversely, System 2 is more effortful, requires additional energy input, and is active when abstract, logical reasoning is required. Second, the potential flaws and contradictions in our abstract and logical reasoning is often connected to the intuitive System 1. In the next episode, we will more closely examine how System 1 and System 2 process information and interact with one another. Specifically, the discussion will focus on how children and adults make sense of the world around us. A major theme of that story will once again be the putative partnership and conflict between System 1 and System 2 thinking. Until next time, keep on sciencing.